Google's fourth Pixel phone is here, and it's a phone that many Android purists wait all year for. With the Pixel 4 XL, updates include a bump in RAM, new motion sense hardware, face unlock, and a 90Hz display, all matched with a Snapdragon 855 and a sleek, new, frosted glass design. Now that the phone is available at all US carriers, it should see more sales, but Google is asking $900 for 64 gigs of base storage. So the question is, has Google done enough this year to justify that price when there are so many other worthy competitors? I'm Ricky with GSM Arena, and this is our review of the Google Pixel 4 XL. Let's start with the unboxing. Inside the box is the Pixel 4 XL in clearly white, as Google calls it, a SIM tool, a USB-C transfer adapter for moving content from an old phone, and an 18-watt USB-C power delivery charger. With the Pixel 3, Google bundled in a free pair of wired Pixel earbuds, so we wondered where they were while unboxing the Pixel 4 XL. Google no longer includes these earbuds, so you'll have to either buy a Bluetooth pair or buy a dongle, since Google didn't include that either. The two-toned window has evolved into a full pane of frosted glass. This doesn't feel like the matte finish on the OnePlus 7T. It's somehow even softer and hides fingerprints very well. The frame is made of aluminum, but it's coated with what feels like the same material as the Pixel 2 before Google switched to the glass on the back. Finally, the Google Pixel retains IP68 water resistance. I really like the design of the new Pixel 4 XL. It feels hefty and sturdy, and the new texture adds a comfortable grip that doesn't feel like you're holding something so slippery. There is no longer a bathtub notch over the display, as Mr. Mobile once put it, but there is a rather large upper bezel over the display. It's needed to fit all the new motion sense and face unlock hardware. We'll get to those in a bit. The Pixel 4 XL has a 6.3-inch OLED display with QHD+ resolution, and although it's the same size as the 3 XLs, the 4 XL has a slightly taller 19:9 aspect ratio. The default and most vibrant adaptive profile is just punchy enough without being too oversaturated. Whites don't lean too warm or too cool on any profile, so you get those even tones between the natural and boosted profiles as well. Google added a new ambient EQ option to adjust the screen's white balance to its surroundings, much like the iPhone's True Tone display does. It's used for a more comfortable and consistent viewing experience. I like the display on the Pixel 4 XL this year, but we've consistently seen Samsung and iPhones easily surpass 700 nits of max brightness, so for the next Pixel, I'd like to see an even brighter screen. We can't finish talking about the screen without mentioning the 90Hz smooth display. It makes for a more fluid feel when scrolling and swiping around, but soon after launch, it was quickly discovered that the screen was limited to only showing 90 Hz when above a brightness threshold, so its implementation wasn't the best, and it feels like it was added at the last minute. Google shifted from dual front-facing speakers to a slightly different setup. The right channel is now a bottom-facing speaker, while the earpiece doubles as the left channel. They scored an excellent in our loudspeaker tests, so no complaints there. On another note, there's no headphone jack here, and Google didn't bother to include an adapter or earbuds in the box. But in any case, the Pixel 4 XL delivered excellent loudness and great audio accuracy with a passive USB-C dongle in our test. There's no longer a fingerprint sensor here since Google introduced Face Unlock. It uses a combination of an infrared dot projector, the front camera, and the motion sense chip. It unlocks almost instantly, and motion sense detects when you reach for the phone and fires up Face Unlock so you can get in quickly. It works fast and reliably, but sometimes it's too quick. It defaults to skip the lock screen as soon as it sees you, but I prefer to manually swipe to unlock so I can check my notifications. It's a radar-based chip that can detect your presence, and with it, the phone will wake up when you reach towards it. You can silence alarms and phone calls by giving it a wave, and also you can interact with this cute Pokemon wallpaper. As for the list of motion sense features, it's pretty limited. I personally found it to trigger too often if it was within distance of me typing on my keyboard, and I didn't find myself benefiting from the features. And the hands-free gesture to change music tracks, it needs more of an open palm to work, and it can't be too close to the phone, and even then it doesn't always work. It's just not a well-executed feature, and we almost wished Google skipped it to give us a larger battery instead. The Pixel 4 XL did okay in the battery endurance tests. It scored 73-hour endurance, but with Samsung, Huawei, and even Apple's flagships now easily getting over a day and a half in real use, the Pixel 4 XL can barely make it past 1 day. Yeah, you can probably turn off motion sense and the 90Hz display to squeeze some more hours out, but this isn't something we should have to do. It's like putting the gas tank of a Toyota Yaris into a BMW and then having to drive slow so your tank can last longer. It just doesn't make much sense. The phone comes with Android 10 out of the box, and the most apparent change is Android's new gesture controls, which behave and feel a lot like the iPhone's gestures, and they're great. Last year's gestures were a hot mess express. There's also the new dark mode that blacks out the entire interface, and even some supported apps, so it's easier on the eyes at night. I do kind of wish there was an option to automatically switch between light and dark modes between day and nighttime like Samsung has it. Swiping up from the lower corner calls Google Assistant, or just as before, you can give the Pixel's Active Edge a squeeze. I like that now you have more control over which apps are using location and whether they're allowed to access it in the background. There are also more comprehensive controls over notifications, and you can limit the ones that blow up your phone the most. Android on the Pixel is maturing more and more with every new Pixel, but I feel like other OEMs are doing an even better job of interpreting Android than Google. They also seem to be doing better in performance, because competitors consistently scored a little better in graphics benchmark tests. That's not to say performance is bad, it's very good, but if Google had kept a more consistent 90Hz throughout the UI, it might feel as fast as this year's OnePlus phones. Now let's get to the heart of the Pixel, its cameras. We finally get a dual camera setup on a Pixel. But while Samsung and Apple are fitting their phones with ultra-wide cameras, Google instead opted for a 2x telephoto. The camera hardware this year is a 12.2 megapixel main camera with f1.7 aperture, and the second camera is a 16 megapixel f2.4 telephoto camera, both of which are electronically and optically stabilized. I like the camera square on the back of the Pixel. It's a new look for Google, but some will argue that it resembles another certain competitor's camera. This year, Google has added a few new camera features. Live HDR Plus lets you see what the image will look like after HDR processing before you shoot it. And honestly, this is long overdue. And there are also individual exposure sliders for extra control over the look of your shot, so you can individually set shadows and highlights. Pretty cool. Finally, there's a new astrophotography mode for shooting starry nightscapes with very long exposure times. Starting with the main camera, we like what we see. Google has cleaned up some of the noise we used to see on the Pixel 3 with excellently balanced exposures. Colors are true to life, and white balance leans a little bit cool as part of the Pixel's signature high contrast look. In very demanding HDR situations, the Pixel can sometimes overcompensate in shadows, resulting in dull colors and noise. But the competition is catching up. Here's the OnePlus 7T next to the Pixel 4 XL's shots, and I thought the 7T took better HDR photos than the Pixel in some situations. The telephoto camera does take really good shots, and the exposure, colors, contrast, and the details are all consistent with the main cameras, so great job there. Although the sensor is 16 megapixels, shots still output in 12.2 like the main camera. Portrait mode has really improved with the main camera. The sensor crops in to about 1.5 times, probably to get you to stand a little bit further away from your subject, and the resulting bokeh is very smooth and convincing. It doesn't just synthesize a blur around the subject, but it shows smooth bokeh with actual depth that may be mistaken for a DSLR. There's an 8 megapixel selfie camera with a rather wide 90-degree field of view. The selfies look good, with lots of contrast, nice skin tones, great details, and everything in the background is always well exposed. along with the subject, of course. Some people might prefer a softer, more flattering look that hides details in the face. If this is you, don't get a Pixel. The Pixel does well in low-lit scenarios. Tones are nice, and it isn't like other night modes that sometimes exaggerate the amount of light available. Exposure is true to life and represents the dark scene quite well. Once you go into even darker areas though, you'll start to see some noise where the Pixel can't quite make out the details. Can you guess which phone took this photo? That was the 7T. And now here is the Pixel. There's an impressive astrophotography mode that kicks in with night sight enabled. All you need to do is stabilize the phone against something or on a tripod and you'll see the banner pop up. Shots can take anywhere from 1 to 4 minutes to finish capturing. I have to admit that the shots I got are quite impressive coming from a smartphone. But if you live in a city with a lot of light pollution, you need to drive or take a train outside to somewhere with less light. I don't think many people will actually use or even be able to use this feature, but it's an impressive one that shows the prowess of the Google Camera software. Videos shot with the Pixel look pretty sweet. Stabilization is on point, and you get a similar look to that of still shots. There's not much noise, and even when you switch to 60 FPS, we didn't notice a dip in the amount of details. The video is also well stabilized here. When we switch it up to 4K, videos are packed with detail and exposure is well balanced. I'm pretty happy overall with the video quality from the Pixel 4 XL. The Pixel 4 XL is priced like the 3 XL was last year. It starts at $900 with the base storage of 64 gigs. So if you're someone who loves pure Android, someone who enjoys the signature look of the Pixel cameras, and someone who wants nice hardware directly from Google, the Pixel 4 XL might be for you. However.com, if you're someone who wants the most value out of your purchase, the Pixel 4 XL is not for you. While we appreciate the new face unlock, 90Hz display, and motion sense, they were not executed well, and battery life is not at the same level of other flagships. For a phone of this price, there is no room to cut corners when there are so many other worthy competitors that do a lot of things much better. I'd even recommend the OnePlus 7T for $600, which comes with double the base storage and 8 GB of RAM, and it's a great phone to play games on with the 90Hz display. Unfortunately, I can't recommend the Pixel 4 XL this year, but if you want to buy one, good luck, because Motion Sense limited its availability to only 12 markets worldwide because it uses radar technology. Next year, I want to see a fully realized Pixel. Fix motion sense, or just get rid of it. Figure out battery life. I like to see more base storage, a brighter AMOLED screen, and an ultra-wide camera. Even in the camera department, the competition is catching up quick, so Google needs to double down because the hype from the leaks might not translate to sales, even with all the US carriers selling the Pixel 4. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you guys for watching. Now, I want to hear from you. Let me know what you think of the Pixel 4 XL, and if not, tell me what alternatives you're trying to choose from. With that, I'm Ricky. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later.